Hello friends, welcome to Kavita's Classroom and welcome to yet another enriching session of sample paper discussion here of macroeconomics. So without any more wastage of time, let's begin our sample paper and here we go. The very first question from section A macroeconomics is it's statement 1 and 2 type question. The first statement says the government may reduce repo rate to control the deflationary gap prevailing in the economy. And we already know that whenever we are talking about inflation, we most often increase all the reserves and rates, right? And in case of deflation, we do decrease the same to have a remedy of that situation. So in deflation, we decrease or reduce. In inflation, we increase or it's gained, right? So this is a true statement. Now, the government may reduce the deflationary gap by selling off the government securities in the open market operation. Let us understand what is going to be the impact of selling off government securities. When government securities are sold to the people, people's money gets tapped with the government. So it is a remedy of inflation, not deflation. For deflation, we have to buy back the things. When buying of securities happen, then the government releases the money in the economy and hence deflation is controlled. Hence, this is a false statement. So our answer becomes statement 1 is true and 2 is false. Let's move ahead. So the second question is to arrive at the value of GVA at FC, dash must be dash from GVA at MP. This is a twist in expression. To arrive at, it means we must have GVA at FC as the answer. What do we do? From GVA at MP means treatment has to be done here. So what do we see? Because it is MP, so minus NIT will help us get FC, right? So what is it? NIT has to be subtracted. We have to be very patient while reading the statement. Some students may just keep this and this on the other sides, right? Yeah. Third is public goods are those goods for which the payments are made by all the entities in the country. No, this is false statement. Right. Private goods are those goods which are provided by the government of a country at subsidized rate. No, that's also false. Because why would the government be providing the things for the private goods, right? So both the statements are false. Moving ahead, under dash exchange rate system, the central bank can control the foreign exchange rate in a range-bound manner. Range-bound manner means a float is given. If the rate remains within that float, government doesn't intervene. But if it goes this side or this side, then the government intervenes. Means government goes for managed floating, which is a hybrid form of fixed and flexible. Right. Move ahead. The next question says, it's assertion and reasoning. Let's read it carefully. Direct taxes are imposed on the incomes or profits of individuals and companies. Yes, this is true. The burden of payment of direct taxes can't be shifted to any other entity. That's also true, and that also gives the reason. That's why we say direct tax, because it's paid by the one on whom it is imposed. It cannot be shifted. So my answer becomes A. The assertion and reason both are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. Under the Keynesian theory, reference line is a straight line passing through the origin drawn at an angle of 45. What are we talking about here? We are talking about AS curve. And AS curve, as we all know, passes from exactly the mid. That's why we say it's a reference line, because the vertical distance and the horizontal distance from the axis at all the points is always the same, right? It is equidistant. Then we have marginal propensity to consume refers to consumption per unit of income. Looks correct or not? This is incorrect. This is false. Why is it false? Because it's the additional consumption with respect to additional income. The formula of MPC is delta C by delta Y, not C by Y as it is stated here. So this becomes false. As income increases, the proportionate increase in the level of consumption is always more than the increase in level of income. Is it true? This is false. Why? Because as we know about the Keynesian psychological law of consumption, as income increases, our consumption is always lesser than increase in income. Delta C tends to be lesser than delta Y. So both the statements are false. Next is the main objective of measuring the primary deficit is to highlight the present fiscal imbalances, fiscal balances, recovery of loans, cash granting aid. So it's clear it's to check about the imbalances, right? So primary deficit means the deficit for the ongoing year. We are not taking the burdens and liabilities of interest of past years, right? So this is fiscal imbalances of present. Moving bit ahead, the ninth question says, statement 1, import of heavy machinery from Japan, okay, is a source of demand for foreign exchange. Yes, this is true. Why is it true? Because if we are importing the heavy machinery, so we need to have the foreign exchange. When we need it, it's a source of demand. The financial aid by IBRD for landslide in Wayanad, Kerala is a source of supply. So what are we talking about? Aid is a source of supply. Yes, because money is coming to India. So it's a source of supply. So both the statements are true. Moving ahead, and we are just on the closure of 1 markers. In a two-sector economy, AD can be determined by adding dash and dash. That's a clear-cut statement. AD is equal to C plus I, everyone knows. So it's consumption plus investments. Why is it C plus I? Because we're talking about 2 sectors only. Third sector and fourth sector is beyond your limit as of now in current grade 12th, right? As we do have for open wall, we have 2 more components, but here the most pertinent thing is C and I. Okay. Moving ahead for the subjective questions now, explain any 2 precautions related to expenditure method. The best is expenditure on second-hand goods is not included, though the commission thereon is always included, right? So second-hand goods not included. We do have expenditure on intermediate consumption is not included. Expenditure on transfer payments is not included. So all these would be a help to you. All these things are not included and you can write. Or on the basis of the following hypothetical data, calculate this. What is to be calculated? The change in real gross domestic product in the year 22-23 using 2021 as the base year. The most important thing in this question is we have been given nominal data and nominal data adjusted to base year prices. So this is the other name of real data, real GDP. Right. And here, because we have to talk about real things, so nominal GDP is not to be used. It's just a trap. It's given to you just to confuse you. Now we are clear what is to be done. We have to talk about the change, the percentage change. So how do we get the change? Change is change divided by original data or with respect to which it is to be found multiplied by 100. So it is change. The symbolic presentation is triangular formation. So how do we find the change over these 2 years? The final value is 6,000 and initial value is 5,000. So the change becomes 1,000 divided by using 20, 20 and 21 as the base year. So the base year is the value with respect to which it is found is 5,000. In 200 is nothing but the percentage change in the real GDP. So what is our answer? Our answer comes out to be 20%. And here goes your answer. Now, the next question for 3 marks is taxation is an effective tool to reduce the inequalities of income. Beautiful, simple question from government budget, right? How do we do it? Yes, taxation and subsidies do reduce inequalities. How? Because taxation is levied more on the income, those who have higher incomes, right? Higher profits. So point is from that money which is taken from the rich, the subsidies are provided to the poor. So the gap between the rich and the poor is reduced. Like rich is here, poor is here. So some money is withdrawn from them and some money is given to them. So the gap is reduced and hence the inequality is reduced between the income of rich and poor. Hence, taxation plays a vital role. And here, whenever we are talking about taxation, we do talk about tax as well as subsidy, the counterpart of taxation, right? Moving ahead, question number 13 says, elaborate any two components of capital account under the balance of payments account. So very easily you can talk about the first is you may say the borrowings and the lendings, right? So whenever you're talking about borrowing, when forex comes to your country, right? So this is a source of forex for the country, right? Hence this would be credited in the BOP account. And as far as lendings are concerned, it means your money is going out of the country. So this is recorded in the debit side. Okay. Then we have the second component. You can talk about the investments. So investments, when we say are received from abroad, so it means that the money is coming to your country. So investments from abroad or from rest of the world, any ways you can write, right? Investments from abroad would be recorded again on the credit side. But when I say investments to abroad, or you may write investments to rest of the world, that would be recorded on the debit side, right? So this way you can talk about these two components. Moving ahead, they say distinguish between autonomous transactions and accommodating transactions. So very easy and straightforward question. So you can talk about that. Yes, autonomous. Okay, let me just give some keywords. Autonomous and accommodating. We know autonomous are meant for profit, but this is for bringing the balance in the economy, right? These are called above the line and these are called below the line transactions. Right. When we talk about this autonomous transactions, these are done in current as well as capital account, but it only happens in the capital account. Right. They are not concerned with the BOP situation of the country, right? But they are to bring the balance. So this is actually the definition. Or you may add one more point that this is done by the public as well as private sector of the nation. But here, when we talk about accommodating, it's only by the public sector. So anyways, you can talk about any 4 points, though number of points are not asked, but it depends upon the key, whether they're asking for 2 or for 4 points. To be on a safer side, give 4 points, right? Now, the next question. Assuming for a hypothetical economy, the autonomous expenditure C bar is given to be 250 crore rupees. Marginal propensity to save, MPS, here is 0.2 and I is 200 crores. So with this piece of information, what is required? Estimate the break-even level of income and equilibrium level of income. Now let's understand what is break-even level of income and what is equilibrium level of income. Where is equilibrium in the economy? Do you know? Let me write down. For equilibrium, we have AD is equal to S or S is equal to I. So let's read this statement, this equality or this equation for finding the answer. S is equal to I. What is S equal to? S is equal to minus C bar plus 1 minus B into I. So minus C bar is minus 250 plus MPS, that is 0.2 into Y, and that's equal to I. I is 200 here. It's given. So what happens? The equation becomes 0.2 Y is equal to 450. Y is equal to 450 divided by 2 multiplied by 10. So my answer comes out to be 2 2s are 2 2s are 2 5s are 0s. This much is the value of income at equilibrium level. Now, the next case, the second question, the break-even level of income. So what's going to be the break-even level of income? We have it as at break-even. What is the condition? The savings are equal to 0. So let's again use the same equation. Savings are equal to minus 250 plus 0.2 y is equal to 0. This gives you 0.2 y is equal to 250 and y is equal to 250 divided by 2 multiplied by 0 back. So it comes out to be 1250 crore. So my answers are 1,250 crores at break-even level and 2,250 crores at equilibrium level. With this, you would score 4 on 4. Moving to the next question, according to the report issued by a research organization, there's a sharp decline in overall demand in the economy, particularly in the private consumption segment. This dip in the macroeconomic variables highlights the urgent need of strategic action to be taken to stimulate economic activities. What is it? On the basis of this and common understanding, explain the problem. Now, what is required? Explain the measure which the government may take to solve the indicated problem. Though they have not written, identify the problem and then explain. But for sure, this 4 mark would be divided into 1 plus 3. 1 for the correct identification of the problem and 3 marks for the solution. Right. Now, there is a trick here. There is some trap here and students do go mistaken here as well. Now, let's understand. There we are talking about a decline in overall demand. So the problem is, yes, what is it? Deflation, deflationary gap. Right. So how to counter this problem? Beta, you must understand which measures are to be taken by the government. It means here we are not to talk about the monetary measures. They haven't said RBI or the banking authority or the monetary measures. It is the forex measures, right? So for it's not forex measures, the fiscal measures. The fiscal measures means the measures which are related to the inflows and outflows of the government's money. Right. So here you can talk about taxes, you can talk about subsidies, you can talk about government expenditure. So whenever there is deflationary gap means money is less in the economy. How do we go about it? Government tries to increase the government spending, right? Reduce the taxation and increase the subsidies. You have to elaborate the same a bit. With these actions, there is more of income or the money, or we say credit, we say money availability in the market. The disposable income of the people becomes higher and hence the circulation of money, and the demand all gets a push and a boost, right? So the most important thing here to be noted was that it's a government measure, means you have to talk about the fiscal policy, not the monetary policy. If you are writing about repo rate, reserve repo rate, CRR, SLR, their answer would be mistaken then. And yes, the recognition of the problem also was to be done. Moving to the next question. The next question says, suppose there are only three firms in our imaginary economy with X, Y, and Z. During a year, the following transactions took place in the economy. So we have the X, Y, and Z as the firms. So let's create a table. We're talking about X here, Y here, and Z here, right? So whenever we have such data, they sold the goods, they purchased the goods, right? So we know the formula GVA at MP is equal to GVO minus IC, or we do have sales at stock or change in stock less IC. IC is nothing but purchases. But here in this question, we hardly have any mention of stock. So I'm just creating two columns. They are talking about the sales, right? No stock, but they are talking about the purchases. Purchases means IC or purchases, right? So with this, if we are subtracting IC from sales, we would land on GVA or GDP at MP, which is required. Right. So let's pause the things and let's understand how do we go about it. Firm X sold goods worth 20,000 to Y, means the sales of X are 20,000. And as it is saying, it's selling to Y. So this becomes the purchases of Y. I'm entering the same data here. Right. And 12,000 to firm Z. So it's the purchases of the 12,000 figure comes as purchases of Z, but the sales of X. We are sorted with first statement. Second statement is firm Y sold goods worth rupees 11,000 to X. So the sales are 11,000, but it comes as the purchases of firm X, right? And 35,000 to firm Z. So again, this is the sales for Y, but the purchases of Z. So this is 35,000, right? Moving ahead, firm Z sold goods worth 57,000, right, to households for final consumption. And we are done altogether. So let's check out what is GVA of each firm. So this comes out to be, if we subtract 11,000 from the total of this, so 32,000 minus 11,000 comes out to be 21,000, right? From 35,000, and this makes it 46,000. If we subtract 20,000, so this comes out to be 26,000, right? Yeah, it should be correct. So if we subtract 35 plus 12 makes it 47. If we subtract 47 from 57, it comes out to be 10,000. Correct. So on the basis of this information, we have to talk about the GVA in the economy. It means GVA by all of them has to be sorted. So my answer becomes the total of these three. So it becomes 6 and 1, 7, and 2 plus 2 plus 1 makes 5. So 57,000 is my answer. You have to write as per the units given in the question. The units only are rupees. We do not have any mention of crores or lakhs or something, right? Moving ahead, I hope the question is pretty clear to you. We simply went stepwise. We sorted the transactions for X, Y, and Z in step-by-step format, and this is our answer. And if you have a double check solution also. If you just total this up and total this up, you just add up this first column and second column and subtract second column from first column, you would land on this very value. Go for it. Now, the second part is elaborate the likely impact of construction of two new express highways on GDP and welfare. You have to keep a note of it. Students most often, when they read the question, they attempt first and forget that there had been a second question also asked herein. Right. So you can simply talk about whenever there are expressways done or made or constructed here in the economy. What does it mean? How would it impact GDP? GDP would definitely be boosted, or it's going to have a favorable impact on GDP. Why? Because of this, there is going to be more efficiency, productivity, because time would be saved, the smoothness of effort is there, and at the top of everything, when the construction process happens, the people are employed, they get to have the direct as well as indirect employment opportunities, right? So this also creates a situation of welfare. So when you are talking about all these aspects, it's going to help the economy to produce more goods and services. So that concept talks about GDP. Right. But when it talks about some other aspects which are favorable for the residents of the country, it's their welfare effect. Okay. Now, let's talk about the next part. And that next part is, let us see. On the basis of this data, calculate NNPF. Say this is a national income. And what are the components? The components given here are of clearly the expenditure method. So let's go step by step. The very first step of expenditure method is GDP MP is obtained by private final consumption expenditure, government final consumption expenditure, gross domestic capital formation, and net exports. So let us find all the components one by one. Private final consumption expenditure is nothing but household final consumption expenditure. I'm marking here 800 is done. In such cases, we should ideally be looking for, is there any other component of non-profit organization or something? Because mostly when it is private, it is okay. But sometimes when household word is given, we do have another component which has to be added. Right, but here it's not given, so we are sorted. Then is government final consumption expenditure. So this is government final consumption expenditure, that is 270. Right, gross domestic capital formation. So here gross domestic capital formation is not given clearly, its components are given. And what are the components? The residential, I'm marking this side, residential construction, business construction, and here they have said business fixed. It means the inventories also would be added here to make it gross, and public sector also is left, gross public investments. I hope this is clear to you. Gross domestic capital formation. What is the area made up of? We are having the residential area, the business area, the public sector, right? So all these four components would make GDCF. I'm adding here 150, 120, 50 here, and 130. It can be, it's preferred to do it horizontally, but because of the shortage of space, I'm just doing it vertically. Right. And the last component is net exports. And net exports are we given? Yeah, excess of imports over exports. So it is net imports given. Excess of imports over exports. So net imports are given. So we have to use minus sign with this, right? So we will have to subtract 20 out of it. So if I'm subtracting 20, I am writing instead of 120, 100. Just to ease my calculation here, you do it later. Right. So 5 plus 5 makes 10, 7 plus 3 makes 10. So that makes 20. I add up here. So this is 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. So here I am with the figure. GDP MP comes out to be 1500. Right. No, but I am required to have NNP at FC. So how do we go about it? This is GDP-MP. From G, I have to make N minus depreciation. From domestic, I have to make national add NFIA. And MP to FC means minus NIT. So let's do this change. I have 1500 as GDP MP minus depreciation, that is 40 given here, the last component, right? Then add NFI net factor income from abroad is given to be minus 25. And then minus NIT, NIT is given to be 20. So minus NIT. So I have some components to be subtracted from 1500. That makes 40 plus 20, 60, 70, 80, 85. So I have to subtract 85 from 1500. That gives 1415 rupees and crore, as the units are clearly mentioned here at the top of the column. So this is my answer. 14,415 is going to be my NNP at FC. I hope it's clear to you and you're able to attempt it well. Now let's talk about the next question. All producer goods are essentially capital goods. Is it so or not? Yes. Think about this. Little tricky. No. First and foremost thing is they say defend or refute the given statement with the help of suitable example. The very first thing you have to write is the given statement is refuted. You have to make your stand clear to the CBSE because this stand has also got some marking. If you're not writing the stand means it's defended or refuted and you're giving full explanation, you may have a loss of half a mark. So clearly give what are you writing for. So you will say it's refuted because producer goods are of two types, single use producer goods and durable use producer goods. And durable use producer goods are capital goods and single use producer goods are the ICs. Right. So it's not essentially capital goods. It can be single-use producer good also, which gets used up during the production process. Right. So moving ahead, elaborate the process of credit creation using a suitable numerical example. The moment we have been given the term suitable numerical example, it means you have to create the table for the same. And that schedule must have all the components, right? Credit creation. So if we want to talk about this, how do we go about it? So credit creation is the function of banks, right? So if the primary deposit is say 100 with bank, right? The bank will go for the derivative deposit, right? And then it has to talk about the reserves. Okay, so if we have to talk about let initial deposits or the primary deposits are rupees 100 crore in the economy. Let there be one bank in the economy. Let our reserve requirement be say 20% or 50%, whatever you want to say. So this way you can talk about, right? So you have to give the table like this is the round one when primary deposits are 100. So out of this 100, you have to keep 20 here and then 80 has to be. You can lend the rest of the amount, that is 80. And as per your assumption, this 80 comes back to the economy, right? And 20% of this again would be kept here as the reserves, right? So this is going to be 16, right? And this is going to be 64, right? And then again, the 20% of this figure would be retained here and the 80% would be given as derivative deposit because this would come back to the banking system. Right. So this way you give, this is round one, this is round two, this is round three, this is round four, and you have to give some dotted format. Yes, this is not completed till the reserves total up to the primary deposits, right? So now, what is going to be the value of derivative deposits, primary deposits? Let us check. We have money multiplied or created. So credit creation is equal to 1 upon RR. And what is credit creation going to be here? The RR is 20%. So credit creation would be to the tune of 5 times. It means the total deposits would be 5 times the initial deposits, that is 100. So total would come out to be 500, right? 400 would be attained back in the form of reserves and 400 would be the derivative deposits, and here the 100 is going to be the total of primary deposits. So this way you have to give some initial statements of assumptions. What is this process? And you have to talk about the tabular expression. Don't forget to give the credit created and the total deposits or the total credit creation done in the economy. Do mention the units, rupees, crores. If you have mentioned initial deposit 100 rupees, 100 crore rupees, so do mention it's going to be 500 crore rupees. So this way you can say, right? Now, the last question for this discussion is 17th part B. This function of the money provides different items to be evaluated against a common standard. Common standard. It allows comparison of prices and keeping the financial records. On the basis of this, identify the indicated function of the money. Are we able to recall the 4 functions of money? Money is a matter of function for a medium, a measure, a standard, a store. Right, standard, a store. So when we talk about this function, it says it items to be evaluated against a common standard. Here the standard word is standard of deferred payments, which are future payments, right? Let me write properly. Medium of exchange, measure of value, standard of deferred payment, and store of value. So we are just to check how much is the worth of the thing. So common standard, it means we are talking about the measure of value, right? This is the function, right? Then list any other 2 functions. We have already listed while explaining. The other 2 functions can be medium of exchange, standard of deferred payments, and store of value. And you can give the simple explanation for the same also. But now that it is the word list given here, you have to only state it because it is only 1 mark. Its weightage is 1 mark. Excuse me. Right. So, we are done with this question paper discussion. See you for the next discussion. And next paper would be on Indian economic development. So, stay tuned. Do practice well. Bye-bye. See ya.